have been pregnant 3 times and all ended in miscarriage. During the 3rd time, I woke up in the hospital bed. Although I hadn't opened my eyes yet, I heard Nathan's voice. He sounded somewhat relieved, as if he thought this was enough and didn't need to get close to her anymore. Fortunately, I smoked, drank, and stayed up late during each pregnancy attempt. Otherwise, she wouldn't have miscarried so quickly. Not only that, but this time I had to personally help her deal with the placenta, which really made me feel nauseous. Sophia, these 3 placentas can help your body recover. When the time comes, we'll try to have a child of our own. I realized that in all 3 of my miscarriages, it was my husband's doing, and he did it to help his old flame. Just when I wanted to open my eyes and confront him, I heard another girl's gentle and shy voice, "Brother Nathan, actually I don't need this placenta, I'm already pregnant." I kept my eyes tightly shut, trying to suppress the sadness that surged within me. If they looked at me now, they would definitely notice my eyelids twitching. Unfortunately, they were immersed in their sweet moment and were completely oblivious to me. Nathan is very excited. "Really, Sophia? How long has it been? When did this happen?" "Yeah, it was that time on Valentine's Day. It's all because you said it wasn't necessary." And then Sophia shyly repeated it. All right, that's great, Sophia, let's go celebrate. But Emily just had surgery. Don't worry, she's fine. Let's go. You have such a good heart, thinking of others at a time like this." After a few seconds, the bedside fell silent. Only then did I slowly open my eyes. Suddenly, tears streamed down, soaking the pillow beneath me. Every time I moved, I felt my nails digging into my flesh, causing it to bleed, just like the 3 children I lost. As the effects of the anesthetic wore off, the pain returned, constantly reminding me that I had lost my children. Moreover, each child was handled personally by their father. Thinking of this, I felt a deep pain in my heart. Just as I was sinking into deep sorrow, my phone beside me suddenly rang. It was a special notification for Nathan that I had set up. When I opened it, I saw Nathan sharing good news on social media, a pregnancy check report. It had Sophia's name on it. The comments below shocked me. Did Brother Zhu finally get together with the person he likes? How come such an important thing wasn't told to us good brothers? I knew it. The duo I support is definitely right. Congratulations. Congratulations. I wish Brother Zhu and sister-in-law a baby soon and a happy life. In the past, Nathan rarely posted on social media and even didn't allow me to post anything about him. When I asked him why, he said it was because of work, as it would affect his colleagues' impression of him. Nathan became the director of obstetrics and gynecology at a young age, and he is quite serious at work. So many new interns are a bit scared of him. This time, he publicly revealed everything on social media for Sophia, but no one knows that I am actually his legally wedded wife. I stared at my phone for a long time, and my eyes became very sore, making it hard to see. It was the on-duty nurse who came to check on me, and she was startled. Maybe she knows I just lost a child and is feeling sad. She came over to comfort me, saying, "Miss Emily, the most important thing now is to take care of your health." I forced a grateful smile at her, though it was strained. But after she left the ward, I still heard her chatting with other nurses about gossip. They said the poor woman in the ward had miscarried 3 times, always alone, and they had never seen her husband or friends. Then someone asked if it was because there was something wrong with her outside. That comment pierced my heart like a sharp sword, hitting the most painful spot. No one among Nathan's relatives, friends, or colleagues knew about our marriage. I felt my heart and body begin to numb, forcing myself to get up and return home like a zombie. Actually, I should have taken a good rest at that time, but I couldn't stay still at all. As soon as I got home, I felt very tired and couldn't help but slide down to the floor. I sat there until dawn, not even noticing when it got light outside. Suddenly, there was a sound at the door, and Nathan walked in. Seeing me at home, he looked quite alarmed and worried. He quickly picked me up and hurried to the bedroom, turning on the heater as soon as we entered, his voice trembling. "Honey, why did you come back by yourself?" After he finished everything, he returned to my side, looking at me with deep concern. "You just had surgery. You should stay in the hospital a few more days. Your body needs to rest." Seeing him like this made me want to smile a little, but I was too tired to even lift the corners of my mouth. If it weren't for the lingering scent of Sophia's perfume on him, I would really believe him. I tried to speak, but my voice was very soft and lacked any emotion. "I looked for you in the hospital but couldn't find you, so I had to come back by myself. Where were you last night?" I noticed a fleeting look of tension in Nathan's eyes. Soon, he calmly apologized, saying, "I'm sorry. I went to an emergency meeting right after my surgery that lasted for several hours. I just finished and wanted to come back to take a shower and change clothes before going to the hospital to take care of you." Nathan's demeanor made it hard to see any problems. Everything that happened last night felt like a nightmare or an illusion. However, while consciousness can lead to self-deception, real pain does not go away. The wounds on my body are still constantly stinging. My 3 children can never come back. Nathan's repeated deception has left me heartbroken. "Nathan, once I recover more, let's have the wedding. I really don't want to wait any longer." I tentatively brought it up again. Nathan was taken aback, seemingly not expecting me to bring up this topic. When we first got married, he always used work as an excuse to delay the wedding. Later, when I got pregnant a few times, he said to wait until the child was born, and it's been delayed until now. Nathan's face showed conflict and hesitation as he said, "Honey, let's wait a little longer. I hope our child can also attend our wedding." Okay. Before, he was very eager about having a child, always telling me he wanted one that belonged to both of us. But I understand in my heart that all of this is not out of love, but to make things better for the person he cares about. Thinking of this, my heart, which had just calmed down, started to ache again. I took out my phone and showed him his social media feed. "Is your unwillingness to have a wedding with me because of Sophia?" As soon as Sophia was mentioned, Nathan's expression immediately turned sour. He could no longer hide it, furrowing his brow as he looked at me and said, "Emily, I know the loss of your child makes you very sad, but could you not involve innocent people?" Innocent? If Sophia is truly innocent, what about my unborn children? I let out a cold laugh. "Nathan, do you still not want to face your true thoughts?" Nathan seemed to feel exposed, immediately looking very angry. His brow furrowed tighter, and his gaze grew cold, as if he were looking at a madman. That day, Sophia was pregnant, and I felt a moment of joy because I had always regarded her as a sister. "Can you stop overthinking? It's really disappointing. Yesterday she was still worried about you, and yet you treat others like this. It seems that if you are not doing well, you want others to be unhappy too. Are you a bit out of control because of the loss of your child? Calm down." I can't believe this is what Nathan, as my husband, is saying. Just then, his phone rang, and it was undoubtedly Sophia on the other end. Her voice sounded weak and fragile, making one feel as if their heart was being pulled away. "Nathan, I'm feeling a bit unwell. Can you come back quickly? Woo woo woo." Nathan was initially angry at his wife, but when he heard this, he immediately panicked, grabbed his phone, and rushed out, his voice turning gentle and caring. "Don't be afraid, I'll be there right away." Then he closed the door and the surroundings fell silent. I suddenly felt very helpless inside, lying on the once warm bed. I felt completely cold all over. This house is filled with wonderful memories of Nathan and me. When we had just gotten married, no matter how busy he was, he would always rush home first. Even if he received an emergency call in the middle of the night, he would gently kiss my forehead, seeming reluctant to leave. On rare days off, we would cuddle together and do things that young couples love to do, like watching movies and eating hot pot, as long as he was home. I didn't have to step into the kitchen. He would keep telling me he loved me during tender moments. When did everything start to change? It should have been clear to me when he first mentioned wanting children, especially since Sophia had just returned to the country at that time. I should have thought of this earlier, but his love for me was so obvious that I couldn't overthink it. Nathan and I had a whirlwind marriage. We got married just a month after meeting. At that time, we both felt we had found love, filled with the impulse of infatuation. But looking back now, I find this experience quite laughable. After Sophia returned to her country, Nathan really wanted a child. At first, I refused, thinking it was too early for kids, but I couldn't resist him. So I began to experience pregnancy but kept having miscarriages. To my surprise, Nathan was so ruthless. He wanted to use my placenta to treat Sophia, but didn't know how to make me miscarry, all while smoking, drinking, and staying up late during the preparation period. I originally thought that as the head of obstetrics and gynecology, he should understand the importance of preparation for the baby. Everyone says a tiger doesn't eat its own children, but in Nathan's eyes, our child became a tool for others. After several miscarriages, I even began to doubt myself, but I never questioned him. Before my body had fully recovered, he was eager for a child, completely disregarding my situation. When a person's heart becomes extremely cold, they really can't feel the pain. I took out my phone and dialed an impressive number. Not long after, an aunt came to take care of me, allowing me to catch my breath a bit. At that moment, I received a video from an unknown number on my phone. In the video, Nathan was busy in the kitchen wearing an apron. Needless to say, I knew exactly who sent it. Did you see it? Your husband, whom you've been thinking about, is making nutritious soup for me. Right now, you have no value to him anymore. If you realize this, hurry up and divorce Nathan. I will give him a child and happiness. Sophia understands people's hearts. Using what a woman cares about most to provoke her when she is most vulnerable and desperate is indeed the most effective method. Since I got pregnant, Nathan has been particularly busy and hasn't cooked a meal for me, not even after my miscarriage. To him, a biological child has never meant anything, let alone me. I don't care anymore, because I truly intend to divorce Nathan. I've been hurt a lot in this marriage. When Nathan returned home again, his attitude had softened a lot. He handed me a beautifully wrapped bag, as if he were presenting a treasure. Wife, I know I was wrong before. I hope you can be magnanimous and forgive me. I have prepared a special gift for you. Come take a look. You just had a miscarriage. Your body isn't ready for pregnancy yet. Let's hold off for now. I've also come to understand that wanting a child can't be rushed. He seems unaware that I have seen through his plan. I didn't respond to him, just opened the gift to take a quick look. Inside was a watch. Then I set it aside. Seeing my continued indifference, Nathan lost interest and went out by himself. After that, he never came back. A month later, I went to the hospital to find Nathan with the divorce agreement and also to get a checkup. Before I reached his office, I heard a familiar voice around the corner of the stairs. As I went up, I saw Sophia standing there alone, holding the phone. Upon seeing me, she quickly hung up and put on a provocative expression. I didn't plan to acknowledge her, but she called out to me, "Miss Emily, do you like the watch Nathan gave you? He gave this to me as a bonus when he bought me the bag. What do you think? It really suits you, right?" I suddenly understood she was subtly mocking me. Before I could react, she had already stumbled down the stairs. I instinctively reached out to pull her back, but someone pushed me away. It was Nathan, who firmly caught her, his gaze cold and full of anger as he said to me, "Emily, I didn't expect you to be so heartless," trying to push Sophia down the stairs. If I had arrived later, would you have succeeded? This stairwell just happened to have no surveillance, and I witnessed the whole incident. I told him that if anything happened to Sophia and her baby, I would never let him go. After saying that, he shot me a fierce glare and carried her away. However, I noticed that Sophia, lying in his arms, made a provocative expression at me, then pretended to be very generous towards Nathan. She said, "It's okay, brother Nathan. Emily didn't mean it. It's great to have you here. It's hard to believe that someone like Nathan wouldn't see how terrible Sophia's act was. It really leaves one speechless. In 3 years of marriage, Nathan has never spoken to me with such an expression. I always thought I had no feelings for him anymore. But when he came earlier, I was surprised that he would misunderstand me like this. It turns out that's how he sees me. I actually still hoped for him." Tears flowed down my cheeks unknowingly. I took a deep breath and wiped away a tear. Thinking about the purpose of my visit today, I decided to go for a checkup first. Just as I arrived at the door of the examination room, I saw Sophia weakly nestled in Nathan's arms. The people outside were whispering, wondering if she was Nathan's girlfriend. I had noticed that they were always together. They seemed like a perfect match, the boy handsome and the girl beautiful. I heard that Nathan's girlfriend seems to be pregnant. He dotes on her so much that he doesn't even let others touch her, which really makes me envious. As I walked over, they greeted me, including the little nurse who comforted me last time. I saw a hint of pity and slight disdain in her eyes. She saw me alone for a checkup, which formed a stark contrast with Nathan and the two of them. I smiled at her and found another female doctor to examine me. Nathan is completely oblivious to us. All his thoughts are on Sophia. After the checkup, I messaged him to come home, but only received a cold reply, suggesting that while he could come home, he first needed to apologize to Sophia. Upon seeing the message, I chuckled coldly, put my phone away, and went home. Sure enough, Nathan didn't come back. No need to guess where he went. I originally wanted to have a serious discussion about divorce with him, but if he is unwilling to cooperate, I will have to think of other ways. The next day after I woke up, I had the new nanny deliver the divorce agreement to the hospital. I specifically instructed her to ask one by one where Nathan was and how to get there, as there was a divorce agreement to give him. She even had to ask everyone in his office until she personally handed the document to Nathan. As for me, I stayed home, sipping soup and watching TV, waiting for Nathan to contact me first. Sure enough, within less than a morning, Nathan called, but I didn't answer, letting the phone ring on the coffee table. After the ringtone rang over 10 times, the phone automatically shut down due to low battery. One must always bear the consequences of their actions. Now, everyone in the hospital knows that Nathan is married and is about to get a divorce. What's even more interesting is that his so-called girlfriend is living in their department, and they are so close every day that it makes people envious, unaware that she is actually the third party. As a result, Nathan's colleagues began to look at Sophia differently, even showing some disdain. Sophia was confused about what was happening and ran to Nathan's office with a wronged expression. Nathan was repeatedly dialing my number, looking quite irritated. I thought some curious little nurses had come in, so I immediately shouted, "You all get out." Nathan's voice startled Sophia. She asked, "Nathan, what's wrong?" Hearing it was Sophia, Nathan slowly calmed down, suppressing his anger to comfort her. "It's okay, Sophia, you should go back to the ward. You're not feeling well, don't affect the baby." Although Sophia understood that something must have happened, she felt a bit scared hearing Nathan's tone, so she turned to leave. Just as she was about to go out, she saw a few nurses eavesdropping outside the door. As soon as the nurses saw her come out, they began to pretend to be very busy. After she walked by, they whispered among themselves, not expecting that this seemingly perfect couple was actually a cheating man and his mistress. Upon hearing this, Sophia turned around like a startled rabbit and shouted at the nurse, "Who are you calling a mistress? Who is the mistress? You are the mistress. Your whole family is made up of mistresses. I am Nathan's girlfriend, not a mistress." After saying that, she tried to rush over to grab someone, but the nurses all dodged away. Unexpectedly, she lost her balance and fell heavily to the ground, injuring herself and bleeding. "Ah, my child Nathan, come out quickly." The voice outside startled Nathan. He immediately put down the phone, picked her up, and rushed to the ward. The nurses were also startled by his actions and scattered away. At that moment, I received a video from the babysitter at home, and I couldn't help but laugh, then saved it. These are all strong pieces of evidence. Next, I charged my phone and made another call. Sure enough, Nathan returned home that night. As soon as he got home, he wanted to come and ask me, but he was blocked by the bodyguard I had hired. "Nathan, if you have something to say, sit down and talk." I made a gesture inviting him to speak. Nathan looked extremely angry, almost ready to explode, and he shouted at me, "Emily, what do you plan to do? You've already hurt Sophia's child, and now you want to hurt me." Seeing his angry expression, I felt no disturbance inside. "Just handed over the divorce agreement. You want a divorce? It's not that simple. Oh, do you want me to expose everything about you and Sophia? Let the hospital staff see how you and Sophia treated me." Hearing this, Nathan's expression changed immediately, looking at me in disbelief. "You, how did you know?" "I clearly kept this matter very secret. How could you possibly know? If you want others not to know, you can't do it yourself. You went to great lengths to make me pregnant and then have an abortion, just to get me to give the placenta to Sophia for her health. You're really ruthless. Nathan, that was also your child. Aren't you the least bit sad? At midnight, didn't you ever think about them coming to you crying? I once dreamed that their bodies weren't even fully formed yet. One by one, they cried out to me, 'Mommy, Daddy killed us all. And what about you, Nathan? He's the murderer.' I felt a redness in my eyes, staring at him, wishing I could tear him apart. And he was trembling in fear, saying it wasn't intentional. The man in front of me is no longer the sweet person I remember. Our relationship ended when he designed for me to have an abortion and even personally removed the placenta. "Please sign the agreement." I didn't say much more to him, I just wanted a divorce. But Nathan pleaded with me, "Honey, can we not get a divorce? I know I was wrong. I was just too anxious to save lives, which is my responsibility as a doctor." Sophia came back to me for help. I acted on impulse. His words made me feel very uncomfortable. As a doctor, he could hurt his own wife and child for the sake of others. An impulsive moment resulted in another woman becoming pregnant with his child. He speaks so grandly about his mistakes, only starting to regret when problems arise. But now everyone knows that regret is useless after the fact, if you're still a man. Stop whining. Sophia is pregnant with your child. How do you plan to take responsibility? Divorce quickly. Even if you refuse to sign, I'll resolve it through legal means. Nathan lowered his head, seemingly lost in thought. I wasn't interested in what he was thinking. I just wanted him to sign quickly, growing a bit impatient. I let out a soft sigh, and the bodyguard immediately pushed the divorce agreement forward. Finally, Nathan signed his name. He lifted his head, looking at me with some reluctance, and said he was sorry. It was the first time I had seen a crocodile apologize. I don't know which moment he suddenly woke up. This matter no longer concerns me. Let's go to the Civil Affairs Bureau to get the certificate next Monday. It would have been better to do this earlier. It's truly been unpleasant. I had the bodyguard take the luggage I had prepared earlier, ready to leave. But Nathan suddenly grabbed me and asked where I was going. I pushed him away and casually said, "We're divorced. This house is yours. I'm moving out." Hearing this, Nathan hadn't had time to adjust his mood and furrowed his brows, asking me, "Where can you go? You can stay in this house for now. No need to worry. You should think about your child with Sophia first." I interrupted him and then left with someone, leaving him standing there, looking somewhat helpless. After moving out, there was new progress in the investigation I had started. The last time I went to the hospital to find Nathan, I heard Sophia talking to a stranger in the stairwell. It sounded like they were arguing, with Sophia saying, "Don't rush, they aren't divorced yet. If Nathan doesn't marry me, I won't get a penny. If it succeeds, the child won't be able to stay. Otherwise, it will definitely be discovered later." Hearing this, I began to have doubts. This is also why later Sophia wanted to use the child to frame me. She wanted to use me to get rid of the child in her belly, and then shift the blame onto me. Unfortunately, she didn't expect that I would reach out to pull her back, and Nathan arrived in time to prevent her from succeeding. I began to suspect her secret, so I went back and hired a private detective to quietly investigate her. Today, I deliberately sent Nathan home to get a divorce, just to create an opportunity for Sophia to be exposed. Sure enough, the private detective I hired captured footage of Sophia meeting with a strange man. The content and dialogue in the video shocked me. In the video, Sophia was in a private hospital room arranged by Nathan, pouring tea for a man. She said, "Honey, just wait a moment. Nathan is about to divorce that woman. This time our plan is truly perfect, but darling, this is the last time, okay?" The man smiled and said, "Sophia, I know it's not easy for you. Let me pamper you well." Sophia stopped his actions, glanced shyly at the door, and after confirming no one was outside, began to relax a bit. She said, "I have your child in my belly, so be gentle. Don't worry, I will absolutely not disturb my dear son." I turned off the video, fearing that if I continued watching, I would feel sick and even regurgitate last night's dinner. I backed up the video's content, just in case. In the next moment, Nathan called me. His side sounded a bit muffled, and he seemed to be drunk. He burped and asked why his wife hadn't come back yet. I frowned and said, "Nathan, we are divorced. Please don't get drunk in front of me." Upon hearing this, he suddenly cried. I decisively hung up the phone. Nathan seemed to suddenly revert to how he was when we first got married. He was more dependent on me than a puppy. When he was home, if I came back late, he would call me in a wronged tone to ask why I wasn't back. But what does that prove? Since Sophia returned, he seems like a different person, with all his thoughts focused on her. Sometimes I feel jealous, perhaps to comfort me, he would patiently coax me. For Nathan, the things he cannot have always leave him troubled. When we got married, he was always thinking about his first love. If he knew Sophia was coming back, would he think he married me too early? No matter what the answer is, it's meaningless to dwell on it now. I sent the video to Nathan, then turned off my phone to get some rest. I thought he might not see my message since he was drunk, but unexpectedly, he was particularly attentive to my messages, so he saw the video I sent him right away. Sophia has passed away. This was the news I heard the next day. Even though I hate her, I was still shocked by the news. By the time I arrived at the hospital, the scene had already been cleaned up. I stopped a passing nurse to ask her what happened last night. When the nurse saw me, she looked around but couldn't help her curiosity and pulled me aside to talk quietly. From the nurse, I learned some things. Last night, Nathan had gotten drunk and was very angry after seeing my message. Then he drove to the hospital alone and went straight to Sophia's room. People nearby didn't dare to stop him when they saw this. A man had just come out of Sophia's room, and he ran into Nathan. Nathan hadn't seen the other person clearly before he punched him, knocking him to the ground. The man immediately shouted, "Who are you? How dare you hit me?" After saying that, he charged at Nathan, and the two began to fight. The nurses were confused about what was happening, and no one dared to step forward to stop it. Sophia heard the commotion in the room and rushed out. She was startled by the scene and immediately ran over to try to intervene. Unfortunately, she didn't have enough strength and was pushed to the ground by two men, starting to bleed. At this moment, everyone finally noticed her condition. Nathan looked up and saw a pool of blood on the ground. Suddenly, a surgical knife appeared out of nowhere, pointing directly at Sophia's stomach, repeatedly saying, "I want to see whose child this really is. Bring it out. Bring it out for a check. Sophia, how dare you deceive me?" He originally wanted to save his son, but was so frightened by the crazed Nathan that his legs went weak, running while shouting that something had happened. "Something has happened. The doctor is in trouble." Sophia wanted to call for help, but couldn't speak due to the pain. Just before she was about to lose consciousness, the hospital security finally arrived and restrained Nathan. Then, the police also came and took Nathan away. Although hospitals sometimes encounter disputes between doctors and patients, there has never been a public murder incident. A few young nurses were frightened, crying and hiding behind the head nurse. Last night's obstetrics and gynecology department was truly chaotic. Hearing this, my mood also became heavy. Nathan was covered in blood when he was taken away by the police. Sophia's death was extremely tragic, and her body was handled by the police. The man couldn't escape either and was taken to the police station for questioning. The facts about Nathan's murder are clear and undisputed, but I still can't understand why he would kill for this. Thinking back to my 3 unborn children, I suddenly understand his mindset. After all, a person who could harm their own children is capable of anything. Half a month later, just a day before I was to go abroad, the police found me. They told me Nathan wanted to see me. I went. On the other side of the iron bars, Nathan was no longer the confident obstetrician he once was. I had never seen him like this, with a buzz cut and a face full of stubble. He really looked haggard. He should have realized that this outcome was inevitable. When he saw me, Nathan lowered his head, not daring to look at me. I felt a bit impatient and just walked away without saying anything. Hearing my words, Nathan finally raised his head. His eyes were no longer cold, but filled with regret and despair. His voice became hoarse as he quietly said, "I'm sorry, truly sorry." At that time, Sophia had just returned to the country. She told me her family went bankrupt and her family sold her to pay off debts. Then that man kept hitting her, and she had no choice but to come to me for help. I have seen that man. He indeed sought me out. I felt a bit sorry, so I gave him some money to leave. I didn't expect that Nathan didn't know Sophia and that man were actually trying to scam him for money, but he also admitted to having a relationship with Sophia, which he could have controlled, yet he couldn't resist her temptation and chose to be with her. He even believed her when she said that 3 placentas were needed to cure her illness and to conceive Nathan's child. I was really confused at that time, not understanding how I could become like that when we loved each other so much. "Emily, I truly regret it. I sincerely regret it." He cried out his regrets. Unfortunately, there are no chances for regret in this world. Nathan was sentenced to death, and the punishment will be carried out in a year. Perhaps what he regrets is that he shouldn't have acted impulsively and harmed Sophia. Then he wouldn't have been imprisoned and wouldn't be facing the death penalty. He originally had a thriving career and a happy family. Now all of that is gone, and it's all his own fault. Nathan regrets wasting such a good opportunity. If the child in Sophia's womb really is his, he definitely wouldn't be acting this way. He would have smoothly married Sophia, had children, and lived a happy life. But I don't want that. I want him to pay for my 3 unborn children. If possible, I really want to personally teach this person a lesson. He didn't even apologize for the 3 children. I looked at him coldly as he finished speaking, and my hatred deepened. Every time I think of the children, I lose control of my emotions, seeing that I had no reaction. He stopped crying and said, "Emily, I know that what I say now is meaningless. I think he should suffer for this," and I said coldly, "When you go down, my children will come to find you, and you must take good care of them." I knew his mental state wasn't good, so I said that on purpose to irritate him. When Nathan heard this, he felt the children were right beside him. Startled, his face immediately turning pale. "Don't do that. Don't come looking for me." "Ah, that's not me. It's really not me. It's all Sophia's fault. It's her. If you want to find someone, go find her. Don't come near me." Nathan started rambling, screaming continuously, and was in a very bad mood. The police announced the end of the visit and took the crazed Nathan away. The next day, I boarded a plane to go abroad, saying goodbye to everything here. Only the little clothes and toys I prepared for the unborn child were taken on the plane. As soon as I got off the plane, I saw my brother waiting for me not far away. He had no smile on his face, and I knew he was angry. At that time, I quietly returned to the country alone without telling anyone. My brother searched for me for a long time. Every year, I only sent 1 letter back, telling him that I was still alive and not to worry. It was only when I discovered the truth that I contacted my brother for the first time. My nanny, bodyguard, private detective, lawyer, and so on were all arranged by my brother. I ran over and tightly hugged my brother, shedding a tear in a corner where no one noticed. "Brother, I'm back. I'm really sorry."